It's Mardi Gras season! Woo! Today I'm gonna make some Mardi Gras themed sugar cookies. This is a recipe from Serious Eats, but this recipe involves coconut oil and almond extract and actual vanilla seeds. So I omitted all that because it was nonsense and you don't need that. And I'm gonna show you how to design the cookies. It's actually easier than you think. I did it once the first time a couple months ago for Christmas. It was crazy easy and I was like, oh, all right, this is fine. And the cool thing about sugar cookies is that even though you think of them for Christmas, you can basically make them any theme you want. So you can do them for any holiday, any color theme for a party you're having, not in this year, in the future. They're very versatile. So here we go. So soften 1 stick of butter, and then you're going to mix that 1 cup of sugar. You can pause it now. 1 1/4 teaspoons of kosher salt. 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Imitation is great. No difference in taste. A 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and impossibly enough 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm just gonna eyeball that. 1/8 teaspoon. Okay, so this recipe actually says to crack the egg directly into the food, which you're gonna regret at some point in your life. So crack it into a separate container just in case it's rotten or shells get in there. Then put it in. Then add 2 1/2 cups of flour. This is a half cup, so I'm just gonna throw in 5 of them, right? 1. I sometimes use a smaller measurement so I have less stuff to wash, so that's why I did that. So this dough is kind of dry looking. It looks like the crumbles that you would put on top of a Dutch apple pie. And that is because it needs to be a little bit dry so that you can roll it out easier without it sticking to the pin and the counter and everything. So I'm gonna do a little bit longer and then we will put it in the fridge. Just taking a spatula and kind of mashing it around, making sure that the flour is not hiding at the bottom because that happens all the time. And I'm going to use my hands, because why not? Just use your hands. Yeah, there's some flour not where it's supposed to be. Just kind of mix that in. And then we're going to refrigerate it for 10 minutes. This recipe says you can refrigerate it for up to a week before using it to roll. And I find that cookie recipes that let you refrigerate it, depending on how soon you need cookies, they either are the bane of your existence or you're very thankful for it because you're like too busy and you need to do things in pieces. My snickerdoodle recipe is a refrigerate for 1 day recipe, which I forget sometimes when I start cooking it. I'm like, shoot, I gotta eat this tomorrow. So this one will be 10 minutes and it's pretty well mixed. So I'll just cover it with this thing. Okay, so I ran out of milk like a long time ago and forgot that that was involved in this recipe. We decided to look for a substitute online, and a lot of substitutes mentioned vegan versions of milk, like oat milk. And I was like, look, I don't have any of this stuff. Tell me what I can do that I have that I can pull out of my kitchen. So there is an option for water and vanilla extract mixed in with the powdered sugar to make the icing, so we're going to try that. This is half a cup of the powdered sugar, and then we're going to do a half teaspoon of vanilla extract. It's okay if you spill extra vanilla extract because then it just tastes more like vanilla. And then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of water. All right. Now I'm going to whisk this and see what happens. We're adding another teaspoon of water because it seemed a little bit too thick and paste-like. So if you planned ahead and you have milk, I think if you do half a cup of sugar, I would start with a teaspoon, but I see a lot of recipes that say tablespoon. I would start with that just because if you have it too runny, then you're kind of in trouble and you need to add sugar, and that's a little harder to do. So you see the way it's running off very fast? That means I need more sugar. We're adding another 1/4 cup of sugar because this is too runny.
That looks much better.
So now you can see it looks like icing. I don't think this is enough to make the icing, but we'll do it anyway.
That's enough.
We can always make more icing if necessary. Now we're ready to roll out the dough. You're going to want to lightly flour your surface. This is some kind of flour duster with a mesh opening. You may even want to do it a little bit liberally because I'm so conservative with my food, and my cookies tend to stick to the counter.
More.
What?
More.
More?
Don't you want a good dusting.
It's not like the counter's made out of, the carpet. It's a hard surface. It'll come off. All right, so took a hunk of cookie dough and my rolling pin, which if you don't have one, you can use a wine bottle or a glass of some sort. There's these cool little rubber things so you know exactly how thick to make them. These are 1/4 inch. You're going to want to roll your dough out so that it's a 1/4 inch thick. you don't have cookie cutters in the shape that you want and you can figure out a way to make the shape, put a bit of flour on the knife that you're using to Okay, so we have an interesting array of cookie shapes here. We're going to bake them at 350 for 12 minutes. I'm going to peek at them around the 10-minute mark because this oven is weird and the top rack likes to cook things faster than the bottom rack does. So if your oven might be like that, then feel free to keep an eye on it or switch them up. If necessary. This recipe should bake about 2 dozen. So you can see they started to get a little bit brown, but not too brown. You can see along the edges that are pointier, it's easier to see. And they're definitely dry to the touch and a little bit soft and smushy. Kind of brown along the edge. So we're gonna let them cool on cooling racks over here. And once they're fully cool, we'll ice them. That's the trick. Don't be impatient. Let them cool fully, otherwise your icing will melt and everything will look like a melted snowman. All right, I let them cool for 15 minutes, which just so happens to be how long I cooked them. I'm gonna make this one into a king cake. One thing I learned about sugar cookies is that you kind of want to cover all of the cookie with the icing, because the cookie is not all that sweet on its own. So you'll see that if you cover the cookies with icing all the way, they look pretty good. And it's easier to write on them, because trying to fill that in afterwards was a bad idea. And then if you write words, try to do one letter on each side and then come in the middle. Instead of writing cookies, you can write cookies. These aren't the worst. These are the ones Scott made because he wanted to use up our red icing from Christmas. So, not Mardi Gras, but we'll eat them anyway. Are we rolling?